Alrighty, welcome to episode 122 of Tokwa's Ask Us Anything. As usual, it's been a pretty busy news week. Elon Musk's continued sell down of Tesla shares is throwing more petrol on the fire that is Tesla's share price, according to research analyst Dan Ives. The latest $3.6 billion sale adds to a total of $19 billion of Tesla shares Elon Musk has sold this year in order to fund the acquisition and balance sheet repair of Twitter. Tesla's revamp of its Model 3 line to facilitate the Highland body redesign appears to have been running for at least 6 months, with regulatory filings at the City of Fremont showing assembly line modification permits dating back to June this year. Tesla's Gigafactory in Austin, Texas has crossed another milestone, with it now having built Model Ys at a daily rate of 3,000 units. A few days later, Tesla's Gigafactory in Brandenburg, Germany also crossed the same production rate. Although it appears unlikely neither factory will attain their desired 5,000 cars per day target by the end of this year, they are certainly well positioned to further ramp to this rate early next year. Elon Musk has instructed Twitter to ban the ElonJet and related Twitter accounts that show the live position of his and other celebrities' private jets. This occurred shortly after it seems such information gleaned from these Twitter accounts was allegedly used by a stalker who harassed a car used to transport his youngest son, X. Tesla's latest version 4.16 phone app now features extended charging stats information. The new version now has the option of displaying detailed charging statistics over the entire 12-month period as opposed to the last 4 weeks. The app also now has a charging tips section which helps new owners optimize charging settings for minimum cost and greatest battery life. Texan drone operator Joe Tetmeyer has confirmed the presence of major components of IDRA's 9,000-ton gigapress in the casting machine hall at Tesla's Gigafactory in Austin. In what has been greeted as positive news by many Tesla shareholders, Elon Musk has promised to step down from his role as Twitter's CEO following a Twitter poll which he instigated. Of the 17.5 million votes cast, 57.5% of participants were in favour of Musk stepping down as the head of Twitter. And that was this week's news. Indeed it was, and for those of us who are participating live, that was about the third or fourth reading of this week's news. Welcome everyone. For anyone that is new, if you'd like to say hello and introduce yourself, that would be awesome, if you're comfortable in doing so. So anyone new, please say hello. And there's 5 seconds of dead air. So obviously, if you want to unmute a bit later on or say hello later, that's totally cool. Has anyone got any news or questions to kick us off with?
Yeah, I've got a question. I've seen recently there's a ship coming in with 4,000 units on it, and there's I could be wrong. It's just on this something Prime. Yep. I just wondered, is there any way to find out what's on it? With there's various options to say you can join up, like different membership levels, but it doesn't make it exactly clear which one would give you what you want. I just wondered if there's any members on it that already have it and could look for me.
I do have it, but I got it quite a while ago, and I'm not sure if the levels have changed. Is anyone else that's sort of joined it a bit fresher? I think it's...
I'm in there now. They've changed it so that you can have I'm a member and I only get to read the chat stuff. And I think that's $10 a month or $5 a month. And then there's a $15 a month.
Yeah, the lowest is $5. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, $5. Yeah, and then $15 a month gives you the what's on what ships when they arrive and where they are positioned and all that sort of stuff. So the $15 a month, and you typically only have to pay for 1 month, and all the information's there. You get private messages that tell you what ship it is, when it's going to arrive, etc., etc.
What the captain's wearing, what he likes for dinner. Just basic stuff.
Well, that's pretty good. The $15 one, as James has said, that's basically the one that's when you're seeking information about your car in particular. And Vita Prime will actually, if you submit your VIN through Patreon, he will attempt to give, I think it's called a VDD. It's a Vita delivery something. I forget what it was now. So because Tesla has an estimated delivery date, and then Vita Prime will sort of give like a secondary estimate of what he thinks your delivery date will be. and would tell you whether your VIN or your car is on a particular ship coming into Fremantle.
It's just that I noticed on Drive there was a post from Voda Prime saying there's 4,000 vehicles coming.
Yes, but
I just-
was that with respect to? I doubt that. I very much doubt
I don't
that's
know.
in Perth.
Yeah,
The
it
the
just seemed to
Freo
say that, but I could be wrong. Yeah,
the Fremantle ships are generally, they have about 500-ish, 400, 500 cars
right.
generally for each ship, but there have been in the past multiple ships. So I think, a few weeks ago we had, in the 1 week we had Model 3s, and then the following week we had a shipment of Model Ys. So I very much doubt there'd be. Well, James, you're sort of without
Harold,
divulging.
Harold,
Sorry,
I saw that thread, and the commentary in the thread afterwards was that's on the East Coast only. That ship
Yeah.
of 4,000 units is going to the East Coast only.
All right. I suppose it's, I like most people, I'm getting a bit itchy now regarding my own vehicle. I've had the email saying start filling in your pre-delivery details. I kind of thought things would move along a bit quicker since I've started doing that, but I suppose with being Tesla, it's wait and see.
So Jared, what sort of car have you got on order?
Gerard.
Gerard.
Performance. Yeah,
Oh yes,
performance.
look,
Gerald.
me too. I've filled out. I've had a performance in order from day one, when Tesla opened the order page in, I think it was June, and
Yeah.
it was sort of surprising. I thought it was a little bit surprising that Tesla did go ahead with getting people to fill out their registration details and that sort of stuff, because that usually happens after your VIN has been allocated. But
All right.
to be honest, I'm in holiday mode, so I haven't actually looked to see if my VIN has been allocated. But I might do that a little bit later on, and have a look, and then I can share the link. There's actually an API link. Actually, James, would you have that link handy? Maybe you could put that in the chat, please. So what you do is you log into Tesla. So just go to tesla.com, then using a web browser, log in to your Tesla account using your email address and password. And then if you open a new browser and just paste in the link that we're going to get shortly, it's an API link, it'll basically show you all the details of your order, and or if you have other cars, already. And then you'll be able to see if you've got a VIN allocated. But I don't think any of the Model Y performance cars have had VINs allocated yet. So yes,
That's
Tesla
rude.
has. So Tesla seems to have sort of gone a little bit early with doing some of their data processing, which I guess is good, because sometimes it gets a little bit fraught towards the end, and people haven't finished their completed their registration details, or there's some errors or whatever. So if you look in your Tesla account, you will see that the delivery date, expected date, is still January to March. So I don't think, unless anyone else has got any other information, I don't think any of the cars have been made yet. But if it's the same as the Model Y standard range cars, they ought to be made at the end of this month. So it's going to be pretty soon when they're going to start getting made. And then that'll be when you'll probably get your VIN allocated.
Right. Okay. That helps.
Harold,
Yes, Steve.
is there a bit of a hold up with that high definition radar perhaps coming back into the mix?
I wish there was. I wish there was. Wouldn't that be awesome? Look, I fear that we're not going to get it on this batch, on these batches, on this first batch of performance wise, because you know how there was that exemption granted or applied for with the FCC to suppress the details until January, some date in January. Look, if Tesla Shanghai produced the Model Ys as late as sort of, let's call it the middle of January, they'd probably struggle to get the cars delivered by the end of Q1. And even though that's not as important to Tesla now, seemingly, as it used to be, I think, I don't know whether they'd wait just for the performance cars. I don't know if anyone else has got an opinion on that. That might be different. Don't know. What do you reckon, Steve?
Well, when I put my order in, it's coming out for the second quarter of next year. So I'm a little bit more confident than you that it'll work with the, might get the high def in. Yeah, we'll see.
Oh, so you're going to make us envious at the start, Steve, when we've got no radar and you have radar, if you have it.
Well, I've got radar on the Model 3 now. Not sure if it's active, but still got it.
This is true. Now, sorry, to Nigel, you've had your hand up first, and then Gerard, I'll go straight to you after Nigel. Nigel, are you there to ask whatever you're going to ask or say what you're going to say? Unmute, please.
And don't put your full body in because it's confusing. Just the head.
No, you're still muted.
Okay,
There he is.
I'm unmuted
Yes.
now.
There you go, Nigel.
A bit more from an IT person. Has anybody got a problem with their air conditioner? That HVAC, I should say, in the car, because I got a error message. It was basically cabin climate control system requires service, VC front A477. And let's put it this way, in the last couple of days, it's been basically a sauna in the car.
Yeah.
Oh, ouch.
Mm.
Did you raise a ticket on your app?
I have.
Oh, okay. And have you got a reply
And a
yet?
reboot
Or
doesn't fix it.
have you looked up that error code? Perhaps Googled it to see if there's.
I did. That's what the best advice I got was to reboot the computer.
Oh,
Yeah, right.
Ooh.
that's an IT thing.
So,
I
so
know.
when's your servicing due? When are they going to? Have you?
Next Friday.
Oh, yeah, right. And I believe it was 36 today. Is that right? Or yesterday?
Yep.
Yeah,
Today.
yeah. I work from home, so the car didn't actually go out anywhere.
Yeah, the next
Because-
2 days are 38, 37.
Yeah, right. Because I've been experiencing about 32 Fahrenheit, so
Mine's-
I'd have no problems
Yeah.
with the aircon at all.
So you just
Um,
open the window a quarter of the way, Harold, to get chilled?
Yeah. Well, I got to slam on the heater. You get to the car and it's like -2 outside, and inside the cabin it's 0. So it's and the battery was I think it was 3 degrees. So I don't know. Has anyone seen the symbol? You get like it's a green round symbol that sort of, I think it sort of shows like a brake disc and a brake caliper in green, and it basically indicates that your regen is it's not going to regen properly, so it does regen simulation by using the brakes. So when you take your foot off the accelerator, it feels like full regen, except it's actually using brakes to make it feel the same, which is good because, you know, in the past you just have no regen and you'd careen through intersections with your foot off the accelerator, not realizing it's not braking. But yeah, Nigel, I don't know. Perhaps, I mean, hopefully it's just your car.
Mm.
I mean, after all, it should be your car that has problems because yours famously had that slight problem at the very start.
Yeah.
Which, for the
Slight
benefit
problem.
of those who haven't watched earlier, I was right next to Nigel, who I'd only just literally met as just some person that was obviously going to pick up a car, and then the two of us then watched a Poverty Pearl White car get absolutely scraped, the door sill absolutely get scraped at the service centre. And us sort of going, ooh, that's got to hurt. And then it kind of hurt Nigel more when he found out it was his car. But anyway, you took it very well, Nigel, I must
Well,
say.
I basically said to you, I hate to be the person that actually is picking up that car. If you remember that.
Yes,
all
and you
laughed.
were. Yes.
And it was me.
Yes, which made it all the more, well, it was kind of funny, but it wasn't, as we both know.
was.
Anyway,
That's
there you
Vince,
go.
but Now the air
Um,
conditioner's on the.
Oh no, just in summer.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, hopefully that. Yeah, geez. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Have you tried to turn the car off and do a harder reset? Oh, actually,
I did.
can you try? Did you turn power off? Maybe try and take the 12-volt supply off if that's not too hard to do a really hard reset, perhaps.
Okay. Try that.
There you go.
Because you've got the conventional 12-volt lead acid battery, I
Yeah.
think. So,
Yeah, the old.
So if you want to do it properly, get under the back seat and do the disconnect the 400 volts as well, and then you can shut the whole car down. I've done that a couple of times.
All right.
you have to do that,
Yeah.
Richard, or can you just do the fire loop? Just pull the fire loop out.
Oh, you just pull the fire loop if you know where it is. Yeah.
Yeah, which is is it the right-hand side or left-hand side of that under your bonnet where
Passenger
the black
side.
cover is?
Pas-
Passenger
Yeah,
side.
passenger side.
So obviously don't get bulk, well, don't get, cutters and cut the loop, just unplug it.
Yeah.
And that will kill the 400 volt side, but it won't kill your 12 volt side. So you just got to do that as well.
12 volt. Yeah. Also, I think powers the computer as well.
Yes. So yeah, so you definitely got to undo the 12 volt battery terminal. And actually, I think that'll really be no,
No, it won't.
and do the battery, because there's an inverter that feeds the battery. That's right. So there's a 400 volt inverter that will effectively trickle charge the battery. So yeah, if you pull your fire loop and a battery terminal for a few seconds, that should do a real hard reset. And hopefully, fingers crossed, Nigel, that might help.
Mm.
So
The one-
On the
Gerard,
restart,
oh,
sorry.
sorry, go, James.
just on when you said did on a restart, is there a difference between the holding two buttons down, restarting the MCU, and going into the menu and doing the restart? Are they the same things? They're just restarting the computer, or is that restarting other systems as well?
I'm not really sure, to be perfectly honest. I haven't really researched that, unless anyone else might know. Look, it's worth a try, Nigel, if you do the restart in the menu. But if that doesn't work, then I just go the very hard absolute power off. And maybe it might clear some error that the aircon system is throwing up, or it could be lowing. I don't know if it's lowing gas. Yeah,
And
give
if
it
you
a go.
do that, don't shut your door
Oh yes.
because you won't like it. Put a window down first before you do any of this stuff.
Just in case.
Because you've got to crawl in.
Yes, or use a brick. Cool. All right. So Gerard, you got your hand up.
Yeah, what it is, you see, I work FIFO. I'm a fly-in, fly-out worker. My concern would be if they got into it and say, right, let's tee up for delivery, and I've just flown to site, I'm not coming home for a week. How loosey-goosey are they for me to say, I can't take it now, I need to wait a week? Would that be acceptable, or would they go, tough luck, you've lost it?
Okay. So there's a couple of answers. The official answer is they're really keen to get you to pick up the car on the day nominated. But the thing is, when the car actually becomes available, they will send you a text message with a link to book your delivery date. And there are usually a few dates available. If none of those dates are when you are in Perth, you can do a couple of things. You could ring them and contact them and say, hey, can you push it out a week or two, and just ask the question. Or you could get someone as a nominated person to collect the car on your behalf. And, one of TOCWA's committee members, me included, are more than happy to do that on your behalf. And Tesla do permit this. You just need basically a letter of permission that says that, you allow so-and-so to collect the car. One of the things is, you may then think, oh, well, I don't have the opportunity to have a close look at the car. One great thing is that Tesla actually do give you a several week grace period, or a reasonable grace period, for when you might want to closely examine the car to pick any faults that may or may not be there. So that is an alternative. You can have a nominee collect the car for you, but provided it's not at the very end of the quarter, I think in my experience, Tesla are fairly reasonable if you want to delay it by a week.
Yeah, because I work 8 and 6. So if I've just gone to work, it's kind of just over a week, and it's just like delayed by that. That's kind of, it's not like weeks and weeks.
Yes. Yeah. No, that would probably be fine. And like I said, I just can't remember how many slots you get available. Well, actually, anyone's gotten their car really recently, how many slots were there when you booked? Was it only 1 or 2 days or 1 or 2 time slots on a day, or could you like push it out a week or two? Anybody? No? Okay.
August. Pick mine up in August, and I was only given 2 slots, and they're about a fortnight apart.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that
So,
might work.
yep.
Mine was in September, and I think I had 2 dates, or 2 or 3 dates, but I think they were pretty close to each other.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
So it could be dependent on what they've got and how quickly they want it out.
Yeah, my sister-in-law got a new Tesla today, and she only got a slot for today or tomorrow to collect it.
Right.
So she got a Tesla today. Yeah.
Oh, today. Oh, fantastic.
Yeah,
That's really exciting. I bet she's absolutely wrapped.
she is. She doesn't want to say anything. She sits here next to me.
Oh, that's cool. Well, ask her any questions whatsoever. Just ask us.
She has a question. She wants to know whether she can put Waze on the Tesla because she likes Waze as an app.
Yes, you can. You can get a suction cup and a phone holder, and you put Waze on your smartphone, and that's how it works. Unfortunately,
Okay, cool.
Tesla's ecosystem is basically closed. So, and they don't currently have any form of speed camera warnings or any of that sort of feed on their map, unfortunately.
Thanks for that.
So yeah, but tweet out to Elon, because hopefully it's going to be less busy if he does actually do what he promised and stop being Twitter's CEO. Just tweet to him and say, hey, we want Waze as an app. I mean, they have added Apple Music, which is a thing. That's a bit of progress. So maybe they might add Waze as an option later.
Yeah. Now, Apple Music is fantastic. I use it all the time, so it's working well on the Tesla as well.
Yeah, cool, awesome. But yeah, and any other questions you've got, absolutely, just you can relay them or whatever. It's all totally cool. As you can tell, we're super duper casual here.
Okay,
Harold,
thanks.
since you're the main man, what do you think is a potential day for us to get these performance models then? Because I know the dates have been pushed out to January to March. Do you think there'll be more towards the back end of March?
Yes. So for instance, one of my Model Ys was built, I think it was the 28th of June, I think. And I received it. Pete and I got the 2 cars sort of on the Friday, the day before there were the main cars delivered. And that was late August. So if you say, if the cars are being made, there's no evidence the cars being made yet, the performance cars, but if they get made at the end of this month, then it's likely that they'll be delivered starting the end of February. That's just the way it seems to be going at this stage. So let's call it end of February, early March.
Okay.
Yeah, it is what it is, Gerard. It's just, yeah, we're just corks floating on the sea, mate. We just take it as it comes. But
Are we
look,
that important?
yeah, let that silence be the answer.
It gets
Yes.
here when it gets here.
I mean, having just seen video of the reveal or the official launch of the Model S Plaid in Vienna, and knowing for a fact, and that was last night, and knowing for a fact that Australia's not going to get them, I'm going to wait till Damo comes on maybe a little bit later in the evening, so I can torment him with the fact that in about 3 hours or 2.5 hours, I'll be going to the retail shop or Tesla outlet to sit in the Plaid S, knowing that we're not going to get them in Australia for at least another probably 18 months. So I guess that's your answer about priorities.
Yeah.
But
Is that because you're going to order one?
no, I've actually ordered a Model X in January, on the 9th of January last year. So that's nearly 2 years ago. And at the time, the website promised delivery in that March.
Right.
But it's not going to be until probably March 2024, basically.
All right. Lovely heck.
Yeah. So Pete also has been a long suffering. He's actually got an even better car, which is the well, it's going to be the Model X Plaid. Hopefully, not talking out of line there, but that's going to be an awesome machine. But again, probably in March next year. Sorry, 2024.
Yeah. I dare say it's going to be worth the wait once we get them. It'll be worth the wait.
Oh yes. Well, imagine 0 to 100 in the Model S Plaid in just over 2 seconds.
Just imagining what it's going to be like in the Model Y Performance. So quite a few people that want to see it. So I'm quite keen
yes.
show them.
Well, that's 0 to 100 in
3.7.
3.7.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be well worth the wait, Gerard. It's just a lot of us have been waiting a long time for the Ys, and it's always worth it. You know, the only thing that any of us have ever regretted is not ordering and getting our Tesla sooner.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how long you wait; it's always worth it. It's always worth it at the end.
Yeah. I think my wife wants the bedroom space back. It's full of accessories at the moment.
Yes. I think it was James, you had an Excel spreadsheet, but don't share it. Unless you got your resolution sorted. But I think James has got a rather large spreadsheet. And how much was it in total, James? Only? Was it a couple of grand?
2 spreadsheets, one for the 3, which we get excited with, and my wife was fully on board with, and that was $2,600. But that did include towing, and the one for the Y, which I think we cut down to $600.
Very reasonable.
You haven't gone for the Model Y illuminated sills then?
It's the useful stuff.
Yeah, they're sitting under my bed at the moment, waiting to go on.
Well, you should sort of like hack into the wiring and just have it illuminated by your bedside. You know, that'd be very romantic.
Yeah, no. my wife doesn't even want to drive the car. She goes, not something that expensive. No chance.
Yeah. So, Gerard, hopefully you've ordered a UMC amongst that.
I believe it comes with a car.
No.
Oh no, it does. No, it will, Steve, because Gerard has ordered a Performance back in the early days when that was
12th
included.
of June I ordered.
Yeah, before July
included.
then, huh? Gotcha.
Have you checked if you've got a VIN yet? Looking for the hidden VIN?
I don't know how to check, to be perfectly honest. And the link is on my iPad, which is what I'm viewing this on. I'll have a look later, but I do come on a daily basis, and there's no updates.
See it, it's hidden, but as soon as they allocate it to you, you can then find it hidden in the and then you know once you've got a VIN, your car's made.
Right.
You'll be able to get shipping information, but there's no point paying for the Vita Prime really until you have that VIN number.
Right, because I mean, I'm in the app now and it's open. It just says once a VIN's been allocated, blah blah blah. But I wouldn't know where to search anywhere else other than look at that link later.
No, not your app, Gerard. Yeah. It's your Tesla website. So just tesla.com on a web browser. So if it's on an iPad, just use Safari and you just hop into tesla.com. In fact, I'm trying to do it now, but the website's being super slow. And once you log in with your account, then open that link, click on that link, and then provided you've actually logged into your account, it'll actually have a whole lot of text that'll tell you about your order. It'll say that it's a Model Y Performance, its status, and I think these days the status comes up as being booked, which means it's booked for production. And it will also come up with a VIN if it's there, if you have one. Otherwise, it'll just have a pair of inverted commas showing it as a null field. So
Yeah.
So you don't have to. You don't use your actual phone app. You just use ordinary Safari. Well, a web browser. And I'm just trying to very slowly open Tesla just myself to see. Actually, I presume Pete's probably lurking, but he'll be able to say later on whether he's got a VIN, because he'd definitely know. And I just don't think so, because he probably would have told me about it. So I don't think VINs have been allocated yet.
No, so I think we probably are a way off from the model, the performance yet. I think I saw something previously saying because it's not as popular, let's say, as in the orders as the standard range. Probably a bit more of a wait because they're getting more of the cash out of the standard range.
Harold, I did check last time about a week ago, and I still didn't have a VIN. But yeah, I'm a little bit. I'm sort of erring towards, the longer they take, the bigger the chance they will have a radar with it. So similar to the conversation that you had before. So I'm not too eager to get it early, if that makes sense. It's the only Tesla that I've ever had that feeling with, but possibly because I've got 3 already, so that may have something to do with it too.
Gerard, sorry.
Oh,
Oh, you're going. Go on. Oh, sorry, someone's muted. I didn't see who was going to talk to Gerard.
well, everyone's gone away.
Yeah, sorry, whoever it was that was saying something, can you just repeat that?
Sound like James.
And Gerard, to confirm his order date, I've asked Vito if he's got any indication, but he needs to know his order date.
Oh, there you go.
Cool. Okay, I'm just about to
So
get
Jerry,
it's Gerard, just to be clear. Just hang on
Gerard,
2 seconds. I've just got to check.
Yeah. 12th of
my-
January was my order date.
there you go,
Sorry,
James.
12th of June.
12th of June. There you go.
Sorry,
What's going on,
Dave,
Alex?
I just got to click on the link, which is, did you send me the, you just sent me the electric, in chat, James, you just put the electric link. Is that what you've done? Or have you got the actual direct link itself, the API link?
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't get into mine. If you go up,
Yeah, it's electric article, isn't it? And then just click on the hyperlink
Yeah,
on that, I presume. Okay,
Yeah.
let me just. Okay, let
and
me
that tells
just.
you how to get into the
Yeah, cool. 'Cause I just don't have it on
It was given
my
my
laptop.
given my order number, unique URL.
Okay, customized and ordered. So you've just customized. Is this actually the API code, James? Do you not have just the standard? There's a tesla.com / blah 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 API. That's the easiest link to use.
For whatever, because I'm logged in, it keeps on resolving to my order number.
No,
not
no,
the
if you
generic
just-
one.
Yeah, no, I just log out then. No, can you just do you have that link as a favorite? The actual hyperlink, the API call as a favorite?
Moved to a new computer and I'm not a good order, so lost most of my links.
Oh, okay. Has anyone else got the API link? Or can you look on Vita Prime's doodad to get the link? Because this electric
Chris
article
has put
doesn't
something
have
in the
that, does it?
chat, but I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the right one, Harold, or not.
That's the
Go on,
one.
you
That's
Chris.
it. No, I got it. Thanks,
Yep.
Alex. Got it.
All good.
Okay. Let me just have a quick look to see. Booked. Tesla.com, Model X, order placed. MX, Model Y. No VIN. No. So I've got so I've got a Model Y performance, and I don't have a VIN. So so no VINs, Gerard, have been allocated yet. So we still wait, but it could be in the next week or so. Well, in the next week perhaps that VINs will start getting allocated and the cars will start being built.
Do you get the VIN before the build or after the build?
I don't remember. It happens very, very soon, one way or the other. And also not everyone gets a VIN allocated at build time. I believe in New Zealand, for example, quite a few people, the actual cars are on the ship going to Wellington or Auckland, and they were actually allocated the VIN weeks later after production. So that can also happen, that you might not get a VIN allocated at all, even though the car has been made and is on a ship. So we could get like a surprise allocation out of the blue, you know. So for all we know, it's certainly plausible that our performance-wise may have already been built, although I dare say Vita Prime would probably be onto that because he has infinitely more knowledge than we do, and but it is still possible.
Right.
But
okay.
as James has said previously, there's not a lot of point joining Vita Prime's Discord group or Patreon group just yet until you've basically got a VIN allocated, and then you'll have your car within the month or so by then, and you'll know precisely which ship it's on, and then you'll know when that ship's arriving into Freo.
Yeah, so can you get a VIN then? Like it's the time scales in virtually a month later the car.
Pretty, yes, sort of.
Yeah.
Or, well, it could be 2 months.
Yeah. I'm not going to hold you to it. I just a rule of thumb.
Yeah. Well, I it's been such a long time ago. I think a VIN got allocated. Maybe it's up to 2 months, Gerard, perhaps. But look, it's worth the $15 or the $30, for 2 months of Patreon. I think Patreon's now changed. I think they now have anniversary dates. It used to be if you got a subscription, it would end at the end of the month. Even if that was in 2 days' time, you'd kind of only get a couple of days. There's been no pro rata or anything like that. But I believe now Patreon have changed their system so that you can actually have anniversary dates. So if you were to sign up today, then your anniversary date would be the 21st of January for the next subscription.
Yeah.
But look, you've got a $100 and something $1,000 car, so whether it's $15 or $30 to see how your car's going and to participate in the discussion, it's definitely worth it.
Lovely. Thank you for that.
Cool. Oh, I just noticed that Grumpy Nigel is he's actually broadcasting live from the back of the ship. It's the SS, starts with a T, ends in C. Is that Titanic? Nigel?
No. I'm actually in the hotel in Bergen at the moment. We've just got back from, I don't know, it felt like a 500-kilometer walk. And I kept bumping into Teslas and there are just so many Teslas here. Polestars, Hyundais, Kias. I even found the Neo shop, and I went in and took some pictures of the ES8 and ES7.
Yes.
And the ES8 is a beautiful car. It's about 628,000 NOK, which is just over 100,000 Australian. But I tell you what, if that ever comes to Australia, it's certainly something to think about. Very, very nice.
Very good.
And I spoke to one guy. He's got a wrapped Tesla with a vinyl wrap, and it was bright green.
Lovely.
I did put it to the Facebook page, and had a long chat to him. He was a very nice young fella, and his brother was just on his way to the Tesla showroom, which is actually a long way out of town, to pick up a Model S Plaid. And I said, is he coming into town? Can I say? And he goes, yeah, but not till later, so don't know when or where. I was trying to get him to let me sit in his brother's Plaid.
Because you would have beat me, because you that would have meant you would have beaten me, because I'm just going to share this. Which was the official presentation of the Model S Plaid in Vienna last night.
Are you back in Vienna?
I've never. Yes. I just went to Salzburg for a couple of days, and Bad Ischl and Hallstatt, and went to the salt mine. Did a bit of work there.
So
earned your salt.
Yeah, they've actually got a Model S Plaid on display in the Bergen showroom.
Yes.
As of today.
Yes. Yep.
So,
in Vienna it was yesterday, so it's today. So at the end of this show, when everyone, well, apart from you and I, Nigel, when everyone else is going to sleep and dreaming of a Model S Plaid, certainly Damo, when he comes on later on, I'll remind him of it. I'll be sitting in one in the showroom in a couple of hours' time.
You bastard, Harold. I haven't got the time to get, it's all the way back out at the airport. So it's about a 50-minute tram ride to get out there.
Yep.
So I'm on my way. See ya.
I'll race you, Nigel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well. It's all good.
The number of electric cars here is humongous. And what's more, the parking bays, so many of them have got chargers on.
Yep. Well,
I believe the street.
Yes, and if you go to the airport, you've got multi-story car parks, and I think it's like a 3-story car park, and 2 out of the 3 stories have got a charger at every bay. It's just
I didn't
endless.
actually look at that, but on the way from the airport into Bergen, we looked outside from the tram, and there was I was going 1, 2, 3, 4, 16 bay Tesla supercharger, and it was 12 of them were occupied. Now there are virtually no free chargers in Bergen. All the ones on the street, and I actually managed to chat to another Tesla owner, and he said, I don't have to pay for parking at this one, I just pay for charging. Now it's a 7.3 kilowatt charger, and he says, I come in here, it costs 10 NOK, and that's about $1.50 to plug in, and then it's a very low charge per, he wasn't too sure whether it was per kilowatt hour or per hour or whatever, but he says, I've been here for about 3 hours charging away, and it wouldn't have cost him more than $9-10.
Yes.
So he got 21 kilowatts into his car in that time.
which is
So
pretty
that's
good.
pretty reasonable.
I mean, in Vienna, I've got a charging card from effectively the equivalent of Synergy, and if you charge after hours, it's something like roughly 10 euro cents per kilowatt hour. So that's about 15 Australian cents per kilowatt hour if it's after hours. Otherwise, it's about 40 euro cents per kilowatt hour, which is 63 or so cents. So yeah, it just depends.
There were some free charges in car parks, but you have to pay an arm and a leg to park in the car parks, and the charging's free. So many of the owners, and it's not just the Teslas, but all the others, ID3s and 4s and Polestars and what have you, were parked, and there was no charge for the parking and a very, very low rate. And it was working out a lot cheaper to park out in the street and plug in than to actually go to a car park.
Right. Now I've just James has just plotted a path so we can meet. I think it is Nigel, and look at that. It's just a string of superchargers basically. Or Ionity actually. And a mix of Ionity and Tesla, and it's just a string of pearls all the way from me to you, Nigel. So how long is this going to take, James? What's the total time? Oh, 26 hours. Okay, so I'll be there in a day.
I'll be on ship.
Oh, really? Oh, of course you would be. That's any excuse, you know?
Yeah, sorry.
So how has go on, Nigel?
I'm just going to see if I can find some of these pictures, and I'll get them, and then I can share my screen if you're lucky. But I've got to download them off my phone.
Yeah, cool. We'll let you do that while we do some other discussion. Yeah, no worries. But yeah, you're dead right, Nigel. There's the proliferation of EVs. I've seen Skoda EVs. I've seen the Mini. There's a few brands where you don't even realize that it's an EV until you sort of hear it. And yeah, brands that we've never sort of heard of, or not exactly. But of course, I think I might have mentioned it last week. The Model Y that I'm in has got that. I call it a stupid drone when you're doing slow speed maneuvers as like a pedestrian warning, which thankfully none of the Australian cars yet, touch wood, have had to have turned on. But yeah, it's a bit annoying. But yeah, there's a ton of EVs here. On that note, has anyone else got any questions or comments? Any bits of news? We might wait till Carmen gets on later so we can whinge about Tesla's shocking share price, but we might leave that for a little bit later.
John Hewitt has something, I think.
Oh, John, yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yeah, sorry, John Hewitt's my name. I got my car 2 weeks ago today.
Congratulations.
After waiting 10 months. Loving it. It's a rear-wheel drive basic Tesla 3.
Yep.
I had a couple of questions. One, how can I find out what sort of battery and what size of battery is actually fitted to that vehicle?
Well, it'll be the same as everyone else's, so you can sort of Google around. I mean, there is a way to precisely know what the size of your battery is and all its characteristics. Do you have an iPhone or an Android phone?
I have an iPhone, and I've looked up all the internet connections and everything else, and I get a variety of answers.
Okay, so you need to get, Pete might be able to jump in. I think it's an MX dongle. It's an MX Plus OBD dongle that you need for an iPhone. Now, they are actually fairly expensive. I think they're $100 plus. It's just because iPhones are shockingly particular about the way they handle Bluetooth, basically the Bluetooth low energy, which is all iPhone generally seems to do these days. So you've got to buy the much more dearer dongle so that you can then use an app, which I think is free, called Scan My Tesla. And with that, it basically connects to the dongle, and then it looks at your CAN bus. When you get it, you also have to buy a Model 3/Model Y CAN bus adapter, and basically you pull the back trim piece of your center console that's in the back row or the middle between, it's in the back of your center console towards the back seats, and there's a connector there that you just basically unconnect or disconnect, and then you put in this male-female splice, which then has the OBD connector to it, and then you connect your MX Plus OBD dongle. So if you go to the Scan My Tesla website, it'll show a list of compatible dongles. Now, something else I've mentioned in the past is you can also get what's called sexy buttons. Now, they are expensive. They cost about, I think it's $300 odd roughly, but it comes not only with a function whereby you can do things like open your glove box just with one of these little remote control buttons. The dongle that it has, and this does come, I'm pretty sure it also comes with the adapter for Model 3s and Ys, so you don't have to buy that separately. But the actual dongle is a Wi-Fi compatible dongle, which works for iPhones. So I guess the thing there is, with the sexy buttons, you sort of get a 2-for-1. You get the buttons themselves, which can be useful. You also get the effectively a dongle that's needed to connect to Scan My Tesla. And then you also have functions which I've just tested actually in the rain and snow here on a Model Y. It has the ability to automatically suppress auto high beams at nighttime while you're on autopilot, which is really useful. And it also suppresses the auto wipers, so which can be quite annoying if you've got a dirty windscreen or just that patch you've got like some bird poo or something like that, and it can make your windscreen wipers come on sort of at random when you sort of don't want it to. So that's one other suggestion. Either go and Google MX Plus dongles, and like I said, I think they're about $100, or for 3 times that you can get the sexy buttons with other options.
Could I just make one suggestion there? I've got an app which was free initially, called Tessie, Tessie, and that will give you your battery size and so on. Yeah, there you go. James has got it on his. And it gives you a little bit of extra information such as degradation, and it gives you some stats. I think it costs about $50 or $70 a year for the whole year. So I paid the $50 or $70, and it gives me some basic information. I don't know how it gets it.
Oh, sorry, I just spotlight again on James. So I did, yeah, show that again, James. Okay, so it's 50, so usable capacity. Oh, even it actually does show that. Cool.
Yeah.
There you go. 58.6, which is about right too. That is right. Very good.
And it will do more than your one car. So it'll do all the cars on your account. So I'm just trying to, mine's hasn't been connected for a few days. I've been traveling.
Yes, you have.
Last seen 5 days ago. Oh, well, there we go. But yeah, it gives my Model Y battery as 60.1 kilowatt hours. And it was about 59.8 usable at the moment. It had degraded by 0.1 or 2%. Terrible. So, John, just give that one a go first. It may be a little bit of a cheaper option to start off with, and see how you go with that. Have you got a rear-wheel drive Model 3?
Yes, I do.
So you've got an LFP battery.
That's what I was sort of hoping, but when I went online, it showed photographs of the battery, which you can see from under the car, and a label on the front edge of the battery, just behind the front wheels, which clearly shows all the data, but mine doesn't have anything like that. And there's nothing in the paperwork. I was just curious to find out what's really in there.
Yeah, if you look at your charging display, if it's got trip, you haven't got an LFP battery. If it just goes 50 up to 100%, then that's fine. You've got the LFP battery.
Thank you for that.
And Harold, I've got those pictures ready.
Oh, very good. Okay. Yeah. Might as well show them. And I'll just before that, just for the benefit of John, I'll just highlight the charging page, and just so we can be very clear what you just said, Nigel, about when you see here, you see 50% and 100%, and what is notable is the absence of any words such as daily, which I think is written here, or maybe it depends which way, daily up here, and trip. Now, if you don't have those words, it means you can charge your battery like I am here to 100% all day, every day. Absolutely, all the time. If, however, it has daily and trip, then you're better off charging regularly to 90% and no greater, unless you go on a road trip. And then what you ought to do is, the best thing to do is set it to 90% overnight. And then in the morning, if you're about to embark on the road trip, while you're getting ready, just flick the slider either on your phone or in the car itself up to the 100%. There's no problem with charging to 100. But what you should do is try and minimize the time it sits at 100%. So if it's like for half an hour, that's not a problem. And then embark on your trip to run down that top 10%. And then just incidentally, try and remember to reset the charge level back to 90 when you start your trip, so that you don't perhaps get to a destination, plug it in, and then it will charge to 100 and stay like that overnight or whatever.
And
But
that is for an LFP battery or the non-LFP?
No. So the LFP, lithium iron phosphate, has this screen here, which has 50% to 100, no daily or trip. In the LFP batteries, you can charge to 100% all day, every day. In fact, I can't show it to you at the moment, but I'm actually going to be away for a total of a month, and my 2 cars are plugged in and the sliders are set to 100% the whole time. In fact, what I did do is I thought, I might do it to 90, but when I looked on the phone app, it actually said, it's actually suggested that you charge to 100% at least once a week. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to leave it at 100% and be done with it.
That's what mine looks like. But
Fantastic. So, yeah.
Thanks very much for that.
No worries. Absolute pleasure. Okay, so Nigel, shoot with your pictures. Show us your holiday snaps. And you're on mute, just incidentally.
Okay, sorry, I thought I'd unmuted myself. So that's the NIO showroom in Bergen.
Yep.
That's the ET7. And you can see all these bloody things on the top there, which is LiDAR and cameras, and I don't know why they've got all those. And that's the ES8, and it's even got a roof rack thingy on. And the price of the ES8 is 628,900 NOK, divide by 6 and a bit. So that comes out to be about $102,000, give or take.
Yeah, right.
And inside of the ES8. It's got the vertical screen, leather seats. It's a pretty luxe car. That's the ET7. So you can see that there's quite a bit of difference between those two.
Is it a curved? Oh no, it's a
Now
flat
this-
screen. Yeah, so it's portrait mode, which now is outdated.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is the ET7, the handles come out like on the Model S, and on the ES8, the bigger car, you press it and it slides out like that, and then you grab the handle and pull, but they're motorized.
Aha. So you just
Yeah.
do a press at the front. So you press the leading edge,
Yeah,
and then that
you
will then
press it and it
motorize out.
and it comes out, yes. And yeah, that's a bit of a color and a half, isn't it?
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, then the where was I? Here is parking. So you've got a Nissan van and a Polestar and a VW e-Golf, and at the
Yes.
end there's some Teslas, and there's so many of these places around. So many of them around.
Yep.
I've run
Absolutely.
across 3 or 4 just in my little walking.
Yeah.
So there you go. I think
Awesome.
that's all I've got. It's a bit hard to see some of these. They're probably pretty sights that I've taken. There you go.
Sunny Bergen.
It's pissing down with rain.
Yes. Yes.
Hey, Nigel, most of these roadside chargers, are they tethered or are they bring your own cable?
A mixture, mostly from what I've seen, they're BYO Type 2 cable, but 1 or 2 of them I've seen have actually had tethered cables, and a few of them have been they've got hoods over because they're not working. So
Right.
it's no different here to Australia, except
Yeah.
they've got so many bloody charging stations.
Yeah, yeah. Well, at least they put hoods on them so you know when they're not working. But
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now we've
And
got to. Oh, yeah. So just 2 seconds before I forget. Sorry, Nigel. We'll get back to that in a sec. We've got a question from Matt, and he's basically asking about car colors. You know, what is everyone's opinion on the best car color? I think Matt, you've said that you've gone from white to red, and now thinking about midnight silver. So I can certainly say that, you know, it's obvious that white is the coolest color, as in temperature wise. Poverty pearl white, that is. It's obviously the free color. The red looks great, and actually I really had a shining to the midnight silver, but I'm not going to change my order because I don't want to lose my spot, which incidentally is what can happen if you do change your spec. You may go to a later delivery slot, which could dribble into another quarter if you're unlucky. But if there's anyone out there that's got red cars, my wife used to have a red S, and that was great. And anyone with midnight silver, which is a great looking color, by the way. No one's got midnight silver. Well, what do we think about the different
I've
colors?
got a white 3 and a blue Y, and I quite like the blue, although I have covered it up a bit, haven't I?
Yes, you have. It's a cover up, Nigel, but very nice wrap at that. So, look, I think, Matt, it's really a personal preference. To be honest, most of what the sun is going to hit is the roof, and everyone's got the same roof, which is glass. So, you know, the side panels or the bonnet doesn't matter. And again, the boot is mostly, you know, Model Y is mostly glass anyway because it's a hatchback. So really just get whatever color you are happiest with and don't worry about. I mean, black obviously is terrible because it shows all the dirt. Well, Pete, what's the difference between your black and white car, apart from the colour?
Sorry, I was trying to find the unmute button. The big difference is, obviously the heat and the maintenance. So, the white is infinitely easier to maintain than the black. The big difference to me is the interior as well. The white interior, I had my car sitting in a shopping centre for about 2 hours today in direct sunlight, and even the seats were in direct sunlight through the windscreen, which doesn't have any tinting on it. And if that was my black car with the black seats, you'd be almost burning your legs if you sat on it without any jeans or anything, if you sat on it in your shorts. But the white seats, they never get hot. They get warm, but they never get hot. Big difference between white. So a black on black car with tinting is, and even with a roof shade, is still a lot hotter than a white on white car with no tinting, no roof shade.
Cool. So there you go. I'm not sure, Matt, what interior you've got, but obviously, it's, as far as the exterior goes. I mean, really. So I've noticed on my white car, or you've got the red one. I remember my wife's S. Red's not actually that bad on dirt, really, and I think the Midnight Silver's not that bad either, because that kind of lighter color, it's not so bad on the dirt. But black is diabolical. Anyone, as Pete would describe, black just shows everything. It's just terrible to keep clean, or at least to keep it looking clean.
White is also the safest color in terms of being visible on the road, whereas black isn't, and some of the darker colors aren't. The grey or the Midnight Silver is probably the easiest to keep clean, but probably the hardest to see on the road because it can blend in with the bitumen. There's pros and cons to each, I suppose.
Yeah, but I guess in defense of the Midnight Silver, all the cars these days have the running lights, which make the cars a lot more visible, day and night, obviously. So, or should I say day and,
True.
After dusk and whatever. Yeah, and Matt, for the records, he said he's got black interior for the kids, which is, yes, pretty practical. Cool. So has anyone else got any? Sorry, Grump. You go, Pete.
Oh no, I was just going to add one thing that I didn't realise when I got the white interior is that when you have in summer, when you have sunscreen on your arms, or when you've got, when you're hot and sweaty and you get a bit of sweat come off on your interior, it shows up on the black, and the sunscreen shows up on the black, but not on the white, which was a pleasant surprise. But obviously everything else shows up on the white.
Yes. Yeah, indeed. Cool. Awesome. Nigel, sorry to interrupt you before. Do you have anything to add about your trip or whatever, or cars? No, that was all good.
Not yet. No, I mean, Amsterdam, there were quite a few Model Ys, an X as a taxi, 3s as taxis, and a few of the other EVs around. Not as many as Bergen by a mile. Mach-E's I've seen as well, the Ford Mach-E.
Ah, yes. They had quite a few problems at the start in Norway with overheating problems. There were quite a few of them. I forget what that famous road is that goes, I think it climbs over a kilometre in a valley, and it's got all these switchbacks. It's got, I don't know, probably 25 switchbacks, and the Mach-E's were just dying like flies because they'd have an overheat error, and they'd literally put their brakes on and come to in park effectively and come to a dead stop and they had to be basically dragged off this mountain
Yeah.
in great
well,
numbers.
VWs, I've seen quite a lot of VWs, and yeah, well, they've got software problems still, haven't they? Yeah, the over-the-air update. Yes, drive it into the service centre, and they'll reprogram it so that you can get over-the-air updates. Yeah.
Yes, it's over the air, but strictly in the airspace that's surrounded by the service centre. Dear. Cool. All right. So anyone else got any other questions or comments or news items? I mean, following on from Nigel, you just mentioning VW. Of course, we know that Herbert Diess is now the head of Infineon, I think it is. So he's gotten out of the car market and into the chip market, basically, which is sort of something a bit different. So there were some people that thought that perhaps he might come to help Tesla out with Giga Berlin, but clearly that hasn't happened.
Yeah, but hasn't he got a clause in his contract saying that he can't go to another electric vehicle or another vehicle manufacturer for
that's
a few
prob-
years?
Probably likely, yeah. A lot of people in Germany and probably in Europe, but I know famously in Germany, they get what's called gardening leave, where you basically are expected to just semi-retire and tend to your garden for a certain period of time before you can get a similar job. Oh, James, you got your hand up. Sorry, yes.
Since the update, I've had a few walk-up not opens. So I've just noticed in the last week, walk up to the car and it's embarrassing standing there, my car's not open. You got to reach in your pocket, get your phone out, unlock it. Or what seems to happen is you have to get the phone out, open the app, and then it opens. So at first I thought it was sleep mode on the phone, but tried it a few times. And it just seems the walk up hasn't been 100%. Never noticed it before, but in the last week, it's probably 4 times it's happened to me in various spaces. Just wonder if that's anybody else.
Over here, yep, happens to us too.
So is that is that update 2022.44.2 or?
It's the most recent one anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Actually, I've just noticed my car. I think my wife's car's got 44.5 or something. It's even more recent. But yeah, James, that's interesting. Because the phone's also, did you also update your phone app as well?
First happened, I went through, did a full update of everything. And the first happened in our garage. And I thought, it's because my wife's nearby, hasn't seen us. But then it happened at the shops later on the same day when it's just me in an open shopping centre. So I went and did the old reboot everything, and tried it again, and then it happened the next day. So it's happening about once a day, and it never happened before.
But did you update your phone software to 4.16?
And phone, yeah.
Yeah. So I just wonder whether it's what did it occur before your phone was updated? So in other words, do you know it's the actual car's firmware revision or maybe the phone app's revision?
No, both at the same time. So two
right.
changes. I don't know what it is. Yeah.
Yep.
James, I've had that on and off since I've had the car 3 years ago. And I've got no idea why, but I do think that you're probably right that it's sleep mode on the phone. I've tried, I don't know how many settings to try and counteract it. But maybe it's the Bluetooth has gone sleepies. But yeah, I've noticed that you walk up to the car and, oh, come on. And then my wife walks past and it opens and I sit in and it says Linda and I go, no, me. Because her phone's connected before mine.
Like 2 feet shorter than me. So if that happens, the car tries to kill me. It follows me around the steering wheel, which is always exciting.
No, that feeling
I've
too.
got no idea why it happens, James, but it's still happening for me. Not that I can walk up to my car at the moment because it's rather a long way away.
Just to rub it in there, Nigel, that you and I are both abroad, rather.
Harold, I've got a question for you.
Yes, Alex.
Key fobs. This might be a little trick for young people out there. How are these coming back, or are they not?
My personal opinion is not for quite a while, because and this is a very personal opinion, let's just say there was legislation that was enacted or regulation that was enacted at the middle of this year surrounding lithium-ion batteries. So I will just spotlight myself briefly so I can show it a bit better. But according to the this is a Model 3 and Y fob. So what you can do is you just put your fingernail in the back of it and pull it apart, and then you can get to the battery. Although actually, to Tesla's credit, the battery isn't super easy to get out, but you can sort of, if you drop it, it can fall out. So according to the ACCC, because they're the ones that actually, I think it's the ACCC, that they actually are responsible for this legislation. And it's to do with safety of lithium-ion batteries, because if a baby swallows a battery, it can basically die pretty quickly. So the legislative requirement now, which came into force some day in June, I forget which exact, I don't think it was the 30th, it was some weird date in June, basically says that the housing has to have, to get access to the battery, you have to use a tool of some sort. It can't just be your fingernail or something. And also what you have to do is I'll just assemble it again. These have to be baked at, so I'll just unspotlight myself. They have to be baked at, I think it's 75 degrees for a minimum of 1 hour, and then allowed to cool down. And after they've cooled down, they have to undergo a certain number of drop tests. And I think the drop is 1 meter. So you've got to drop it from 1 meter onto a hard surface several times. And at none of those times can it split apart or break apart and allow access to the battery. So as far as not being able to get into the battery without a tool, the easiest thing to overcome that is you put a screw. You have to fit a screw, and if you do fit a fixing, you've got to actually screw it in, unscrew it, screw it in a number of times. I forget if it's 5 or 10 times, and it still has to hold firmly. And then you've also got to do an impact test with it's a 50 millimeter steel ball, and that's got to be dropped from a certain height onto the transmitters. And again, they're allowed to break, like you're allowed to break the plastic, but it can't come apart, so you can get access to the battery. And Australia is the first country in the world to have these standards, but I don't think it's going to be the last. I think it's just one of those rare instances where we're ahead of the curve, as Pete would say. So in my personal opinion, I don't think transmitters are coming back anytime soon until Tesla redesigns them. But that's my personal opinion. Given that I do manufacture remotes, and in my process, we went through all the rules, and there is no way around it. You have to have a fixing, you have to do the drop tests. It cannot be pulled apart just using bare hands. And at the moment, this fob just doesn't meet that standard. Now, Tesla may decide Australia's a small market, we'll just not supply them for the time being, perhaps until the rest of the world catches up. So yeah, sorry, Alex, that was a very long answer to that short question, but I don't think it's going to come anytime soon, to be honest. The only way you can really get a remote practically these days is if you know someone in another jurisdiction, Well, actually, like me and Nigel, we could put a bulk order in and get some. But then having said that, that may
Yeah,
mean we might be breaking
cost
the
them.
laws. It'll cost them, yes.
Yeah, we've got to make a few, Bob. But I've got to make a few. Have you seen how much it costs to eat here in Norway? There's TGIF. If you've ever been to America, it's an American burger bar.
Thank God it's Fridays.
Just look there. Thank God it's Friday. Yeah. Their cheap burger was $40 Australian. So we went to have a look at Burger King, and their Whopper with cheese was $20 Australian. So I'm going to be having a cheeseburger at Macca's because that was only about $8 or $9, maybe $10.
I do
So
know.
it's
Sorry, I was going to say, I do know Norway's stupendously expensive because I've met a couple of the Tesla Owners Club Norway executives in the US, and any Norwegian, when they go to a minibar at a hotel, which none of the rest of us ever use because minibars are hugely expensive, the Norwegians reckon that's a really good price, and they all just guzzle the minibar because it's vastly cheaper than their homeland, that's for sure. Cars are cheap.
Yeah, so I might be losing some weight this holiday.
Well, how about your
Can't afford to.
cruise? Is that all inclusive? At least meals?
Yeah, it's a full board cruise, 3 meals a day.
And drinks? No, you got to pay for drinks.
No, it's tea and coffee package. Alcohol here is expensive, so
Yes.
it might be a bit of a dry argument for a while.
Well, your liver will thank you, Nigel. It will thank you. Whereas for me, I can buy all the 500 milliliter Hefeweizen beers. Oh, actually, I saw there was bottle of vodka for €4. 700 ml vodka for $4. That's $6. So that's cheap drinking. But anyway, cool. Has anyone else got any other questions or comments?
It's David here again. Can I ask whether it's dangerous to charge at 225 to 230 volts? When I plug in my 15 amp connector into my standard power in the house, I drop the voltage, of course. Now, does that do any harm to the car, or can the house burn down or anything else?
No. So 220, even as low as 220, it's not super common, but it does happen. It can happen depending on where. So David, have you got a single phase house or a 3-phase house?
3-phase house.
Yep.
The one part of the house has a few things in it, as well as my car. Yeah.
Yep. Cool. So you'll always get more volt drop on single phase regardless, as opposed to 3-phase. So if you had your high power wall connector, say, which is 3-phase, it will usually show a higher voltage than if you have a UMC connected into a power point, because basically with 3-phase, there is no current flowing through the neutral. So you've basically got, when it's balanced, you've got basically 3 juicy conductors feeding power to your car. So you've actually got less voltage drop than if you've got a single phase connection, because what happens is the current flows through the active into your car and then returns back out the neutral. So in one sense, you've almost got sort of twice the cable length, sort of, that the electricity has to pass through. So you will get a higher volt drop, but it's perfectly safe, because what will cause a fire in your house isn't so much the volt drop. Well, it kind of could be, but it's the current going through your cable. And obviously your electrician, I mean, it's a standard outlet. So you'd have a 16 amp circuit breaker, and that would be sized, or whatever it is, it could even be 20 amp circuit breaker, sized to the cable that's in your walls of your house. So you can be rest assured that you shouldn't be able, regardless of what you connect to your power point, your house will be safe, because if anything, if the current is excessive, your circuit breaker will pop and protect the house. But obviously, if you have a crappy extension cord, like a really crappy one, then the extension cord could melt and bad things could happen, but your house won't catch on fire from its wiring. But 225 volts is not a problem.
It's just that I got a message last week saying that the system has cut down the flow from 15 amps to 12 amps because the machine picked up that the wiring was getting too hot. Now it said it could be in the plug, you know, in the adapter that fits in, or it could be in the wall. And I thought, wow, I've never noticed that one before.
Okay,
then I
so
thought, well, perhaps I'm doing something wrong.
no. So the actual in your UMC, unfortunately, I don't have one handy, but in the plug head, it actually has an electronic temperature sensor in the actual part that plugs into the power point. So if that gets too hot, then the UMC will actually reduce the current automatically to make sure it doesn't stay that hot. And that's automatic. There's also a temperature sensor in the head of the Type 2 connector that goes into your car. Oh, well, actually, of course, the last few days it's been rather hot. So something that can happen is if your Type 2 connector is, well, plugged into your car, is in the sun, in direct sunlight, that can obviously make it a lot hotter than it otherwise would be. And the same applies to the 240 volt side, your power point side. If that's in the sun on a hot day, that could also give a sort of false reading, and the car could then reduce the current. But either way, it's doing it to protect itself and the circuit.
Okay, that just stops me worrying. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't worry. The great thing about these things is Tesla obsesses over safety. So they always make sure that if the car side gets hot, or the plugs or the PowerPoint side gets hot, it automatically reduces power to prevent any damage.
Thank you very much.
Cool. And James, you got James.
I'm an electrician, but the weak point's always the plug, especially if you're in the garage. Everything could be made properly, but in the garage, it's a dusty environment, open to kind of more moisture. Over 10 years, you can get a bit of grime building up on that point. Give it a hot day, and give it the fact it's probably the first time you've had something running at full whack for so long. It could be just enough to heat up that plug, which transfers directly to your Tesla, and your Tesla picks it up on its plug. So if it's a long-term solution, getting a Sparky just to put a new, make sure there are a lot of torque settings. Sparkies don't do torque settings properly on PowerPoints. They just do up tight enough, but there are actually torque settings for doing plugs properly. Make sure to put a new PowerPoint in there by an authorized electrician and get him to torque it and make sure everything's clean. And then you'll have no problems. That just set up a lot of workshops, and we've always had failures with plugs just getting dusty and grimy, and then a bit of moisture in the air. And it's always in hot times.
I think that might have been my problem too. Yep.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, James. That's a great point. I mean, I've myself actually seen an installation where the electrician hadn't actually stripped back the cable at all, the insulation, and he just screwed through the insulation, and the amount of copper that was actually showing onto the what would have been touched by the screw was minuscule. Thankfully, it was a lighting circuit, so it wasn't a lot of power. But I mean, that's a diabolically dangerous thing that can happen. But yeah, James, yeah, especially, even the act actually, David, of just plugging and unplugging a few times, you might actually see a little bit of grime build up on the pins. And if you just give them a bit of a clean and do that a couple of times, that could also make a big difference.
Yeah, thanks for that too.
And James is just in the chat put in the link for the ACCC button and coin batteries, and yeah, you can read to your heart's content. It's rather long and verbose, and there are some attached Australian standards, or not attached, but they're referred to, which unfortunately cost money to actually look at. But yeah, anyway.
Import them. It says there in section 32, you'll have to do the testing yourself. So if you were to bring them from Europe and you bring them in, you've got to do the testing.
Yeah, so Nigel and I will not be doing that for our friends. Better if you wanted to do that, just get someone that you know that lives in Europe to get them for you and send them. But then you will personally be carrying the can, which you actually instantly do when you import things from Alibaba, which don't comply with safety regulations or electromagnetic compatibility and all that sort of stuff. But hopefully Tesla will come out with a new version of the fob soon, because basically there's no doubt that this standard, even though Australia is the first one to introduce it, this standard will go worldwide because it just makes sense for it to do so. And if you want to see evidence of just how thorough the standard is, if you go these days to Coles or anywhere and try and buy a button cell, gone are the days where you can just like tear the packet open with bare hands and it's all easy to do. These things are almost entombed in plastic, and you've got to use basically scissors to cut them open.
Childproof and me-proof.
Both ends of the human spectrum there, Nigel. Cool. Alrighty, so has anyone else got any other questions or comments? I'm eagerly awaiting for Carmen to come on so we can talk about the share price, because that's just a bit bad.
Another question.
Share price.
Oh, sorry, Nigel. Yes, go, James.
In the last few days, you know, where your Speedo, your little Speedo with the ring with a Speedo in it, every once in a while, just below it, pops up the same size circle, but in grey, and has a -1 or a 0 in it.
Yes.
Any idea what that is?
Yes. So I've because I like to be mischievous or inquisitive, I've tried to actually engage traffic aware cruise control just when it briefly shows -1, because I wanted to find out whether it would actually bring the car to a stop and then go backwards at -1, because I'm that kind of guy. So what it is I've found it to often occur when you go through a school zone where you've got the dual speed limit, where you've got, say 60, and then it shows the 40 in grey, or sometimes vice versa with the little clock symbol indicating that there's a different speed limit at different times of the day or different days of the week. And what I found is when you get out of that zone, that weird zone, I have seen it go literally very briefly, shows -1, but it only does it for, you know, a fraction of a second, or maybe as long as a second if you sort of really look closely. It's just somehow they've got like a null limit is that maybe they call that -1 k's an hour or something like that. But yeah, I've seen it for months and months. I've seen that do it. So just try and go near school zones, James. I think it'll happen more often there than other places. And I even found it in Vienna. Actually, I was driving somewhere and it had a similar situation, and I saw the same -1. There you go. Sorry, and Nigel, you were going to say.
I've forgotten. It's old age.
Okay, well, one thing that I did see the other day, which is very dear to my heart, was a great video of another company bringing out a, and I've just got to pause it. Oh.
We're building a website.
Oh, and put it up, because it's on a product that I care a lot about that I haven't got yet. and we all know what that is, and that's
We're building a wedge-style camper for the Cybertruck. Your space camper drops onto the bed of your truck and attaches quickly with just a few clamps. It's meant to travel with you on the day-to-day, providing utility with minimal effect on your truck's range. Double your secure storage space with full access to your truck bed and no modifications to your Cybertruck required. We're utilizing the Cybertruck's onboard air compressor to open your camper with the flip of a switch. Every camper comes with lockout bars for additional safety and a built-in awning. The Murphy-style bed is big enough for two with easy access from both sides. Reading lights mount to your roof magnetically so you can move them around. Your bed folds up into a backrest and tucks out of the way for up to 8 feet of standing room. Nearly every element of your camper has more than one function. Extensions stored at the foot of your bed become benches and tables that you can rearrange however you'd like for a comfortable zone or mobile office. If you need to be discreet or want a little extra security, you can camp out in incognito mode, where your bed drops down so you can sleep with your camper closed. Our base model has everything you'll need if you'd like to keep it simple. We've also made it easy to add on accessories. Built-in storage compartments can be accessorized with a drop-in sink, induction cooktop, and everything else you'll need for a full camp kitchen. You can move your whole kitchen outside with the addition of our back rack trailer hitch accessory. When closed, it provides an aerodynamic place to mount your gear and detaches when you don't need it. Resting on detachable hinges, your bed platform can become an exterior table. It happens to be the perfect size for an outdoor movie screen. Our rechargeable projector accessory is great for movie nights outside with friends, or it can be magnetically mounted inside for date night. You can also switch up your layout with stargazing mode. Every camper comes with universal L-Track roof runners to work with any rack accessory on the market. We'll be offering roof racks designed to host cargo boxes, your gear, and multiple solar panels. Our 220-volt tankless water heater mounts inside your camper for instant hot water to your sink or shower. You'll be able to move your shower enclosure around and collapse it for easy storage. Our design features several simple, reliable mechanisms that are made to last. Since your truck won't require you to carry keys, we've made it so your camper won't either. The rear hatch locks automatically when pushed closed and opens again when you lower your tailgate. Our base model camper comes in black. Upgrade to stainless steel for additional durability and heat shielding. We'll be offering more options for customizing your camper, including a logo delete or custom embossing. Be ready for any experience with a camper you can make your own. Reservations are open now for priority fulfillment at spacecampers.com.
And have you seen how much that's going to cost, Harold?
Just $26,000 US, Nigel.
Yeah, yes, exactly. I'm going to be, if I get one of those, I'm going to get a caravan out the back for a little bit more, and then I won't have to stuff around up, putting that up, putting it down. Oh, hold on, we've got to go down to the shops for a coffee or to buy some milk. No, stuff that.
Oh, well.
Sorry, Harold.
Well,
blowing smoke at you.
I just like the 3D renders of the Cybertruck. I just want to get one. Come on. Anyway, I guess that's a little bit of competition for the Cyberlander, which wasn't that $50,000, I think, US. So this is half price.
Yeah, but half price of way too much is still half of way too much.
Yes, which
yeah, and it's from 26,000 US. You can add bits onto it and bring it up probably to 100,000 US. Buy 2 blooming Cybertrucks for the money.
Oh, all right, whatever.
Inspired me. When my Cybertruck arrives, I want to do the across the middle of Australia. Yeah, Leinster, Wingalina, Outback Way. Just need to take a bunch of to charge on the way. I think that'll be your lap around Australia. I think the diagonal straight from Perth to Queensland through the middle.
Yes, but you'll have no charging, James, because I'm just trying to get PlugShare to cooperate, and
you have solar panels on the roof.
There's not a lot. There's there's not really a lot there, James, for you of any sort, really.
Everywhere I go,
Actually,
there's sunshine.
I take that back. I've got to put 3-phase. There we go. 3-phase will make it a lot better. There you go. So you can go into the Huikara community, and there is a 3-phase outlet right there. So yeah, I'd like to see that, James. I really would. I guess what I could do is we could have a race. I'll drive around Australia and you drive across
Yeah.
Australia, and we'll see how that goes. And Pete,
Solar
I'm gonna
panels.
solar panels. Yeah, that'd go slowly. That would go slowly.
500 kilometre a day, 5-day rest. 500 kilometre a day, 5-day rest.
Yes. Whereas Pete and I are going to be bashing out. Oh, Pete's gone, but Pete and I are going to be bashing out 1,000 k's a day, mate. Come on. Once we've got,
Mate, you're boring. Boring.
once we've got the Synergy and Horizon Power, I think it's called the WAEV network. Once that's up and running, we've already got quite a few bits of the Queensland Inland Highway working. So incidentally, you've actually got, we just filter some of these off. You've actually got Longreach, Cloncurry, Hewenden, Charters Towers, Winton, Longreach, and Barcladine. And you've actually got a few more in the Queensland network. So it's getting there. But yeah, so James, when do you think you're going to get your Cybertruck?
VIN? No VIN yet. I'm not sure.
Yes.
I've seen the pressing gear on the video.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. That was Joe Tedmeyer. That was in the news. So the IDRA press, the 9,000 ton press, at least major components of it have arrived, and they're in the actual casting hall at Gigafactory Austin. So yeah, hurry up, Tesla. I think they were aiming at mid next year for first deliveries in right-hand drive,
allegedly,
left-hand drive.
The ramp up is a lot quicker because although it's taken 5 years to get the design done, the actual manufacturing is a lot less steps. Skeleton,
Yes.
no paint. There's a lot less steps in it. So they do say it'll ramp quicker, but there is $1.5 million back orders. So it could be 4 years before they decide to start to make a right-hand version.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Model 3, I think they took 2 years. I think it was 2 years from when they first had cars coming off the line in the States before we got them in Australia. And I think the Model Y was a bit less than that. So you never know. But having said that, you know, the model...
Made out of Shanghai, didn't it?
Yeah, true.
Never got Ys from anywhere else, did we?
No, that's right. Model Ys were only from Shanghai, but the Model 3s were clearly from Fremont initially. I guess the counterpoint to 1 or 2 years is the Model S and X refresh. It's now been nearly a solid 2 years, or it's about to be 2 years since they were produced in the States, and there's still no sign for at least another year of them. So
the S and the X were always made with a handedness. They're always made left-handed.
Yes.
They didn't have, whereas the Y and the 3, it's just the components you put in them. So the question is, how will they make? Hopefully, they make the model, the Cybertruck, equally ambidextrous, and it's only componentry, not structural changes.
Which would be crazy if they didn't. So the bulkhead, they would have to have whether it's a casting or stamping of the bulkhead, be ambidextrous, like you say. It just makes perfect sense. And if it doesn't, it's just insane. But who knows? But so pick a date, James. 2025.
March 2024.
No, that's too soon. Oh no, yes, no, that's too soon.
That'll be a year's production. A year's production.
Yeah, but they would have had to have started producing it in December next year. That's only 6 months after they first start producing or delivering to the States.
I'd
It's
say
too
they
soon,
could
James.
produce. Okay. Too soon.
I'll go March 2025, and that's optimistic.
In Brisbane, mine will be a bit more dusty than yours. I'll buy you the beer from.
Okay, so you're gonna receive it in Brisbane.
Perth, drive to Brisbane across the middle, and you and Peter will come around the outside and meet me there.
Yes, we will. Or we might have to actually. I reckon it'll take you longer to go across than it would take us to do the whole lap. Maybe we'd have to do a double lap, and then we could meet you in Brizzy. 1.5 times through our double lap. How's that? Or we could meet you in the centre at Barclay Homestead, which I don't know. I know a couple of weeks ago that had actually had a major fire and was, for all intents and purposes, shut for all purposes, like obviously electric car charging and fuel. So I don't know if that's come back online yet or not. But yeah, we might meet you there. That's probably a lot. It'll take you that long to just to get to Barclay. But it's all good. The challenge is on. The gauntlet has been thrown. Cool.
To Alice Springs is roughly 2,000 kilometres. So I've only got to do 2,000 kilometres off grid.
It's going to take ages. It's going to take ages. All right. Has anyone else got any other comments or questions? Otherwise, we might wrap this thing up a little bit early because I think I've shown everything I've got. So, Nigel, you're abroad. You're enjoying the soon to be awesome auroras that hopefully might come.
Well, hopefully with the cloud cover and the rain, and snow is forecast in a couple of days. I don't know. Fingers crossed that this is what I'll be seeing.
Because you'll be up on the cruise ship up at the top of Norway, won't you? Right up.
We're
past
going
the Arctic.
all the way up through past the Arctic Circle.
Yep.
And all the way to Kirkenes, which is only about 7 kilometers from the Russian border.
Awesome. So you'll be the first to know if there's a flotilla going westwards.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Well, you should have bought your Starlink because then you could have told us about it before they jam everything else.
Well, I've got full Wi-Fi on board, so hopefully I'll be able to join in next week.
Awesome. Awesome. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, I think the following week we're back in Bergen. Can't remember.
Speaking of Starlink, of course, the other bit of news was that Starlink has crossed 1 million subscribers. So they got 1 million subscribers, and apparently they've signed up 750,000 subscribers this year. So they're really going gangbusters.
Oh, hold on. Carmen's come, so we can all go now. Goodbye.
Carmen has come just in the nick of time. So once we get
Just
her,
as
get
we
her
were
settled,
all saying goodbye.
yes. But we're going to talk about the. I got to show this. It's a shame that.
No, we're not going to. No share price. No. Go away, Carmen. We're just closing. Thank you. Goodbye.
Go ahead.
No,
we
no.
were
when-
literally seeing where we're going to close it all up now, and then you come on.
Oh, is that right? Is
No,
that
no, no.
because
Yes.
you're going to wrap your Christmas presents, Nigel?
What's that? No, I don't get Christmas presents.
No, you're giving. You're giving. It's a giving time.
Oh, I don't give them, that's for sure. That's probably why I don't get any.
That's right. You get what you're given. Or
How are you,
yes.
Harold?
Very good, thank you, Carmen. I'm suffering from an
enjoying?
excess. I'm suffering from an excess of wheat beer and goulash and sauerkraut and Zwiebel Rostbraten and lots of other things. In
Good
fact,
on you.
I'm about to show if I can just bring up my wife. I mean, obviously, as we know, apart from yourself, Carmen, of course, everyone else in the room have Tesla widows who obviously love Wednesday evenings because it's remote control day. But my wife's actually been out and about because she didn't want to stay in the apartment, and I'm only using a mobile phone dongle to get data, and it's a little bit,
Okay.
it's not fantastic. So she can't sort of watch Netflix or something because that would have just killed the whole stream. But she's just sent me an image of where she is, and I'll try and bring it up with holding a mug of mulled wine in one of the Christmas
Wow.
markets. So I'm going to try and bring that up in
Oh,
a sec.
We've got Christmas markets just down the road here, and Glühwein, the mulled wine.
Glühwein,
Very nice.
yeah, very
Oh my
nice.
God, they're good.
And the
Very
thing too
nice.
is with the Glühwein, it comes piping hot, like it's about, I don't know, 60, 70 degrees, like a hot coffee. But you've got to drink it. Unfortunately, you feel compelled to drink it quite quickly because if you don't, it'll go cold in your hands. So therefore, Nigel, we have to drink it quite quickly. And then once you've drunk one, we need another one because you start cooling down again. And then you've got to have another Glühwein and, half a dozen Glühweins later. And you wonder why you keep
Harold.
slipping on the snow.
Oh, well, it sounds awesome.
It is.
Except for the cold, except for the cold.
Now, Harold, now I've got to go and put my anorak on, get all rugged up, and go out and get a Glühwein.
Yes.
Me too.
And
I
my
can't
wife
wait.
just said, yes, please.
Well, actually, I've got to, you see, as soon as we finish, I've got to retrieve my wife from wherever she is or ask her to come back and go to the Tesla showroom to hop in the Plaid Model S, of course. So I'll do that. I would.
I'm going to get a taxi out to the one that's out near the airport here.
Yes. Well, I mean, look, one of us had to do it, and I guess one of us is more committed than the other, Nigel. So I'm going to do it for the cause.
But no, you must have a Tesla widow there who's quite happy. My wife, every time I go, oh, look, there's a Tesla owner, I go and talk to him. She goes, will you stop it? We're on holiday. So I've got to keep her happy.
Mine does that all the time. But if she's got a couple of Glühweins in her, then she might be a bit more amenable to hopping in the Model Y to go and see the Model S.
It didn't work. Oh, well, maybe a couple more would be all right.
So what's it like with the snow on the roads? And so do you have to, are you driving? Do you have special tires?
We've just got, I believe they're just, to be honest, I haven't looked closely, but I believe they're just standard winter tires, which have a lot of cuts in the tread. Like the tread's got a huge multitude of little cuts as opposed to our larger, we've got is it W and S or S and W, winter and summer tires? We got universal, year-round tires in Australia. In Europe, they have a summer set and a winter set. And I think it's mandatory to have your winter set on by a certain date. I don't know if it's 1st of December or something.
Yeah. And do you have chains?
No, we haven't got any snow chains. So we were going to go to Dachstein, which is one of the ski resorts just outside of Salzburg. But actually it's cable snapped, so they've had to, they're replacing it, and they won't be open until the 24th of December. And the access road to there actually had a sign and a like a checkpoint where you've got to put your snow chains on. So you got to have snow chains. But yeah, we don't have snow chains. But all the roads are salted. Like one thing you see regularly is they're sort of like large bulldozers or small bulldozers, I guess, and they scrape the freeway, and then at the back there's like a hopper that spins and spits out little chips of salt, and they salt all the roads. But one thing we found the other day when we went to the laundromat, there's a little bit of rain, but it was -4 degrees overnight, and there was like a pool of what looked like water, but it was actually turned into ice, and that is just super, super slippery. It's a classic black ice, and could be really careful.
Well,
Yeah, when we were in Amsterdam, we saw people ice skating on the little streams that were around the area.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. One of the winter markets, the main one, Christmas markets, is at the opposite the Opera House. I forget what it's called now, to be honest. But I don't think they actually have. I don't think they have cooling circuits inside. I think this rely on the fact that the air is below zero, but they've just sort of pour water in like this formwork, and it goes for like, I don't know, about 1 kilometer, just in like circles and round in big long loops and a serpentine sort of thing. So yeah, as long as it's below zero, the water will freeze, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Well,
it was in Amsterdam where the Rijksmuseum is, and a few other museums. They had a Christmas market area and an ice skating rink out in the open, where they just put some formwork up, flooded it with water. And they got the ice making machine, that goes across and levels it all and melts it a bit, but it was freezing over. And there were people ice skating, playing ice hockey, and all sorts of things on it.
Absolutely. This is, I finally did find this image. This is the image that my wife just sent me. So this is, I think this is in this near Stephansplatz in Vienna.
Oh, yes.
And yeah, she's just clutching a Glühwein, a nice warm one in her hand. I think she's quietly sort of saying, "Oh, haha, you're having fun with your Tesla friends and missing out." That's right, I'm missing out on the Glühwein. But I'll be a good, responsible Austrian driver and not have the Glühwein first before I go to Tesla in the car, and then when I drive back, I'll hop on the underground and wash my mouth out with lots of it. Now, Carmen,
have you been to the Anne Frank Museum?
No, not yet. I think we might have actually been previously. Not sure, but I'll have a look. I can't remember. I'll know if I look outside. I have seen a few Anne Frank things, but that might have been in some other museums, because there's little exhibits and stuff.
Yeah.
I've previously been to the Criminal Museum, which mainly shows how people were executed. They've got a few skulls of people that have been hung, and they have guillotines on show, and lots of interesting things. Yeah, there's
Anne
lots
Frank
of
House is in Amsterdam.
Yes.
Where she lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't been into it yet because it's
You
always
need
a long.
you need to book because it gets very busy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just downloaded the latest update, and this defrost car obviously is designed for Europe.
Yep.
It's too big. It's very, very easy to hit the button, and we're sweltering here.
So I can definitely attest that defrost button is very useful where I am and where Nigel is, and the car gets super toasty and it's lovely. But yeah, you're right. It would be a bit of a shock. Does the seat heaters would come on too, wouldn't they? I presume, if you hit that.
I know, but it's very easy to hit it. It's just very prominent at the moment. In the latest update.
Well, I guess that's because it's a winter thing.
Else.
Yeah, it's a Christmas thing.
Trying to put the interior on cooling because you're at the shops and it's hot out there. And then the defrost, first time I put defrost on, fortunately it gave a warning and said, "Do you want to defrost? Are you sure you want to defrost?" And that's a good thing because I hadn't realized that, done it. So yes. So
Yeah.
save myself toasting like a marshmallow.
Well, unfortunately, poor old Nigel earlier on, not grumpy Nigel, Nigel Saunders. His aircon's not working well at the moment, so he's basically driving in a sauna.
Oh,
So, but hopefully he'll get that resolved soon.
well,
Now,
make sure he's not hit the defrost button.
oh no, he's just no, he definitely hasn't. He's got a warning that he's got a notification that says there's a problem with his air conditioning. Oh, and thanks, James. Just put in the chat that no one, according to in the Vita Prime thing, is saying that there are any VINs yet. So there's definitely no VINs for Model Y performance cars yet. So that's cool. Now, Carmen, we were looking forward to you coming back on because, of course, I think last week someone had posted in the chat, if anyone was prepared to pick the bottom of Tesla's share price. And
Right.
And, I thought that $150 or $160, which I think it was last week, was kind of pretty cheap. But
Okay.
as we speak, if this little thing will work, Tesla's share price,
137.80. 137.80.
yes, that's what it closed at. The pre-open is showing at 139.92, but which is an up. That's 1.5% up. But I mean, it hasn't opened yet. It's not going to open for an.
Buy, it's on sale. Buy.
Yes.
So they won't open. Well, they won't open for another 3/4 of an hour. But yeah, 137 yesterday is pretty pretty low. Pretty
I
low.
know, and I still can't convince my stockbroker. He says, "Oh no, it's not tallying up. It's not making any sense." And look what Elon Musk is doing.
Yes, but as we always say, in the short term, the stock market is a voting machine, and in the long term, it's a weighing machine. There have been a few valid concerns in China, because they're not quite sure whether demand is coming off a little bit for cars in China. I think the last week's registrations were down 20% from the week before, but you can get seasonal effects, you can get local COVID effects that are dampening down deliveries. But I think Gigafactory Shanghai is still on Chinese sales are still expected to beat last year's total. So that's a positive thing. And, as we saw in the news, Elon Musk did put a vote out on Twitter, a poll out on Twitter that asked, and he did say that he would abide by the result. And the result was 57% in favor of him leaving as CEO or as the head of Twitter. So, hopefully that's a good thing. But, CEOs are really...
he'll just put a guy with the title and he'll sit in the back with him. He's not going to leave it.
Well, Lex Friedman did actually, and he's a fairly prominent MIT artificial intelligence researcher, and also a prolific YouTuber and podcaster. And he actually offered to do it for nothing. And then Elon Musk, and he said he would do it on the basis of getting Twitter to do all the engineering innovations required to make it succeed. And then Elon Musk replied to him with something along the lines of, you would only be able to have the job if you put all of your net worth into it. Like you got to go all in with all your assets and have all of your assets at risk. So basically you got to effectively, sell all your assets and put them in Twitter shares so that you've got 100% exposure to that company, which I guess sort of makes a little bit of sense, because you don't want someone being an employee manager who doesn't really
Yes,
care
but
what
not,
happens.
but not all your assets.
Well, this is what Elon
having
said.
a percentage is advisable, but I don't think any practical person would do that. And in any case, it takes two to tango, so they're likely to have
Precisely.
opposition from the home
Yeah.
front.
Yes. Well, let's just hope. I think, like you said, Carmen, even it doesn't matter who the CEO is. There's no doubt Elon Musk, as effectively the head shareholder or owner, notional owner, wouldn't do any less interference or planning or, he'd still be obsessed with Twitter. So
Yeah, it'll just be worded differently and signed off under the new CEO, but he's pulling the strings in the background.
yes.
I
Yeah.
mean, you do it. Anyone would do that with their own business.
Yes,
Well, maybe
yeah.
I'll tweet and suggest that more than 50% is unreasonable to ask a person to commit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, after all, Elon Musk hasn't got all of his net worth into Twitter
No.
yet either. He still has 13% of Tesla that he needs to sell down, in 22 million share lumps that he's been doing lately, which has been tanking
but
the price.
we don't want him to get rid of any more Tesla shares.
Well, unless he can get rid of all of them, and then we don't have to worry about it. If he sells them
What's
all,
the advantage for us?
well, then he can stop selling them, because once he's run out of shares to sell, we won't have to suffer the share price continuing to go south every time he sells.
I know, but he might not give it the same attention.
Yeah, true. Yeah. But then perhaps Tesla has got to a stage where it doesn't really need Elon Musk as much as it used to. So, in the old days, Elon Musk was sleeping by the side of the Model 3 line when, they were going through the ramp from hell. And he was trying to solve problems actively himself. Now Tesla's a mature company, and it's possible it could do better off without him. Certainly the share price would. And, there's a lot of employees that personally just wish Elon would just stop tweeting and stop being a 9-year-old, I don't know.
But if there's no fun in it, he may just dump the whole thing. And we don't really want him to do that.
No, but hopefully it's still a good investment. I mean, Tesla at 130 or 140 odd dollars. I mean,
Yeah, it's good.
that's
I
a
think
big
it's-
discount at,
Yeah.
from where it was. I did look on the graph, and it's about, the last time I saw the price less than this, it was about October 2020. So, we're at
Yeah.
2-year lows.
Yes, yeah. Well, certainly it will help the average. Will help my average anyway.
Yes, if you buy some, well, look, and in fact, I'm going to preface it with this.
The following segment is general in nature and shouldn't be taken as personal professional advice. Listeners should seek their own independent assessment from a qualified advisor and not rely on the general nature of information in this program.
But having said
It's
that,
best not to ask a qualified advisor.
well, that's right. We're not going to advertise who Carmen's qualified advisor is. But then again, if you had bought Tesla at $250 or $300 a share, that advisor would be rightly saying, well, see, I told you, it's now at $137 a share.
No, but if you bought it at 800, he's still telling me.
Yes. Well, if you want to buy, I mean, look, if you have a feeling to buy, you should just buy. You should instruct your advisor to just make it so.
I will. I think I want the average down.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, I mean, we're all Tesla believers, but there was another article too where I don't know whether it was Elon Musk tweeting it, but he claims that he's very concerned about a lot of the other car makers because they're all going broke without them realizing it. And perhaps some of them do realize it. They're just in denial, a little bit like, Arianespace and other rocket companies are basically dinosaurs that are looking at the meteor well, the asteroid basically approaching Earth, going, I wonder what that pretty thing is. You know, the margins are so low in
They really
cars.
just need to, what has to happen is that they need to put their prices up, which will be very good for us. And yes, they need to catch up. It's quite a few years. So they have to deal with it.
Well, that's right. And the thing, their biggest problem is their margins are very thin. So they're not
Yes.
making much money out of every car anyway. And then they've got to shut down all of their engine plants and write off all of that expensive equipment and all that knowledge that they've developed over the last 100 years and replace it with stuff they've got very little knowledge of, and the learning curve is pretty steep. And, you know, Tesla famously just does nothing but focuses on perfecting the machine that builds the machine, so the factory. So, you know, Fremont is Tesla's most inefficient factory. And, you know, I dare say that, well, Shanghai is one of the best places to build cars and the cheapest, but Germany and Austin are getting even better technology, you know, to make cars even cheaper and more efficiently. And the other car manufacturers have really got very little chance unless they can somehow get a huge injection of money. And why would you do that when you could just buy Tesla on the cheap, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's
No,
it's sort of not fair, really. But that's just the way it is.
I think it'll sort itself out because all the announcements have been made and the forecasts. So I think they just have to get on with it, and Tesla's in a better position to be able to hold its own.
Yep.
And there's enough people with money around the world. I mean, when they're buying Maseratis and stuff at hundreds of thousands and $500,000, it should continue. It's part of the future now.
Absolutely. And one part of that is that Tesla is doing is they've obviously said previously that they are going to announce the next locations for the future gigafactories. And of course, that was another bit that was sort of in the news is it looks like, well, it's alleged that the theorized Mexican plant might be announced as early as, I thought it was the end of this week, perhaps, maybe, which I guess we won't know unless it does get announced. And then Korea is also heating up because LG, which is a supplier of batteries or cells to Tesla, I think they've committed over $3 billion to build a plant in South Korea. So maybe that's a bit of a portent of what might be happening with another factory, possibly in Korea, one in Mexico. And, you know, there might obviously be another European factory, and the German factory is actually extending as well. So they're looking at, well, there's confirmed plans of at least another factory equal in size to the one that's currently there. So Tesla's certainly expanding, and it's just up to the other car manufacturers to, well, not just expand, but they've got to shift production from ICE to EV. One thing I mentioned earlier was, you know, in Europe, it's just full of EVs. So there's a Skoda EV, which obviously there isn't one in Australia yet. And there's lots of other brands. And Nigel was showing the Neo. So what were they, Nigel?
ET7.
ET7.
ET7 and ES8. Yeah, and is that the Skoda Enyaq IV?
I think so,
which is
yeah.
an SUV, about the same size as a VW ID4.
Yes, yep. And it's funny because I noticed it because in Austria they have they have a variable speed limit on their freeways. So normally the standard speed limit on the freeway is 130 k's an hour, but in times of higher pollution levels, they actually restrict the speed limit, and they call it IG-L as a initial. And that's a regulation where they deliberately slow down the speed to 100 k's an hour so that there's less road pollution generated. And there's a bit of a story. A few years ago, an Austrian Tesla owner deliberately exceeded the speed limit to prove a point, to say that he wanted to go to court to challenge this law that he should go slower to abate emissions, because he said that he has a zero emissions car. I think he lost that case, but then there were a few other court cases that happened later, and then the government eventually agreed to change the law to exempt battery electric vehicles from this restricted speed limit. So you are permitted to do the 130 in when it's 100 when it's a 100 zone during pollution. So what they do is all of the EV number plates have green lettering or numbering, as opposed to the non-EV ones, which have black lettering. So I actually got my photo taken by one of the speed cameras on the freeway doing 130. But of course, there's no issue because they just look at the number plate and know that it's a qualifying EV. Happily, they have excluded plug-in hybrids because they know, as we all do, that plug-in hybrids are just the methadone gateway to heroin addicts. They're not used in the way they should be, or usually or ought to be, and they are almost as polluting as the ICE equivalent in most cases. But yeah, so that's a good little thing in Austria, for instance, where EVs, there is that incentive to have EVs, and that makes sense.
Now, how do they perform on the ice?
Oh, great! So I've got a long range. You don't get it. See you later. Oh, you going, James? Sorry, you just waved. Oh yeah, cool. No worries. Take care, mate. We'll see you next
See
week.
you, James.
Good night. Have a happy Christmas.
Yeah, no worries.
Carl,
Yeah, and have a
thank you.
happy
See you
Christmas.
Next year, well, next week, yeah.
Next week, yes, not next year, next week. So I've got a long range Model Y. So it's got a dual motor, so front and back, and it's rock solid. I must admit, I was a little bit nervous at first on the Autobahn with snow and all that sort of stuff, and I was, wanting to be super careful because I've seen too many wham bam Tesla cam videos, mostly taken in the States, where you see one Tesla following another, and it was a Model Y just minding its own business, sort of driving perfectly straight on autopilot. Perfectly well on autopilot on a slight bend, and it must have come up to either a sheet of water or a bit of ice or something, and it just out of the blue just starts spinning around, does a 360 and sort of careens off the freeway. So I've kind of been a bit careful, but I've deliberately gone onto snow and slush and sort of icy sort of stuff, and it's rock solid, Carmen. It really is. No issues at all. And it's got plenty of power and plenty of grip. And like I said, that's on standard winter tyres, not the studded ones, which Nigel would be more likely to see cars in Norway with studded tyres, which I believe they actually got metal studs, like spikes.
I haven't actually looked at them. There certainly haven't been any snow chains or anything like that I've noticed. So I'll go and keep an eye out for that. Trouble is, sunset has happened here. It's only about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Sun's only up for 5 hours at the moment. And as I go further north to the Arctic Circle, it'll only be up for about 5 minutes.
Yes. And I love how when it gets up, like even in Austria, it barely manages to get about 25 degrees above the horizon. It's just like this lowest arc where it sort of just arcs across.
Well, the longest day is the 21st. The longest day, the 21st.
And the shortest.
The longest night.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I haven't seen how high the sun gets up. It's been so cloudy and wet that I don't even know where the sun gets up to.
Yeah, same here. Like at the moment, it's actually, I'll just show you. It's actually just overcast. So you probably can't see, it's hard to see, but that's just overcast or foggy, really. So there's no sign of the sun today, but at least it does. I'm just sitting in like this. I'm just using the natural light outside, so it's very flattering, being diffuse. But well, I guess today is the longest day for you, Carmen, and the shortest day for us, Nigel. So being Gravy Day, after the Paul Kelly song.
Yes.
So yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm going to go. We'll allow you, Harold, to go and sit in your Model S Plaid, you bastard.
Yes. Yes.
I could do it if I went out to the showroom here, but it's out near the airport. It's an hour away.
Yeah.
But I can't, unfortunately. So I'm just going to find some Glühwein and guzzle
That's-
a few.
Well, actually, that's it. And please do, and so will I. And on that note, we might as well end the show here. Before we do go, for those that sort of are clever and fast forward ahead to the end of the show, please do like and subscribe and hit the notification bell and tell your friends about it. You know, we try our best to provide, you know, a good program, and we do that sometimes. And then other times it's kind of just, you know.
I think we did once, Harold. I think once it happened.
We did once. I think the first one was the best one, and then it just it went downhill
It's gone
from
downhill
there.
since.
Yeah, exactly. But
Well, I hope you have a very happy Christmas.
oh, thank you, and the same to all of you. Have a lovely warm Christmas. Nigel and I are going to have a very traditional Christmas with lots of snow and coldness and
Yes.
hearty warm
But
dinners.
there's been there's a lot of white stuff on the ground here. I tried snorting it, but I just got very cold nose.
Exactly. Now, unfortunately, Pete's not here to round us out, but if I do recall correctly, he would say something along the lines of stay safe, stay sustainable, and stay ahead of the curve. And then, of course, I would always round that out with, and the best way to do that is buy a Tesla, join TOCWA, and ask us anything about accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy. And on that note, have a wonderful Christmas and
And
stay
don't
safe.
forget Patreon. Give us money
Don't
on
forget
Patreon.
patreon.com/TOCWA. That's it. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. Have a wonderful
Fantastic.
week. And we look
See
forward to
ya.
seeing you next week on Ask Us Anything. Good night, everyone.
Fantastic.
Christmas all.
Good
Merry
night.
Christmas.
Merry
Good night.
Christmas.
Bye.